Alright, welcome back to the third video in this series where we compare the Warlock with the Crossbow Xpert. And it occurred to me that we hadn't really gone into the backgrounds that in much detail, so we're going to do that right now and let's get into it. So basically for the Crossbow Xpert I chose the soldier background, and it has a feature of having some military rank, which really rarely comes into it in the game. You know, one D&D is going to be changing backgrounds so that they give you ability scores and things like that. I think that actually has some good potential. I think backgrounds can cover a lot of cultural information, and that's going to be interesting to see. And I think in the future we might see something more like a nature culture sort of divide when we create characters. But anyway, let's keep going. The soldier gets skill proficiencies in athletics and intimidation. One day I will get more into depth with other backgrounds. There is a playlist on this channel that talks about different backgrounds, and eventually I'll get through them all. I will be adding this video to that playlist as well, so if you're joining from that playlist, welcome. One of the things I like about this particular background is this vehicles on land. It's one of the few times you can actually pick up a vehicle. I have a gunslinger that was working on a wagon, and I really wanted to learn how to drive the wagons, even though it wasn't on my character sheet. And even though I was riding shotgun on the wagon and had handle animals, the DM ruled that I roll to be able to learn how to use wagons, and I was partially successful, so I am on my way to learning how to use a wagon, and that's great, but it's very hard to pick up vehicles, in particular in 5th edition, unless your DM is helping you out with that. There's bits of equipment, 10 GP, blah blah blah. You get the idea though. The other thing that a soldier get is this sort of speciality which has no impact on the game unless the DM decides it and the player builds towards it. For example, number 4 is cavalry. Does that mean you can ride horses? Not necessarily. You might not have any ability to ride a horse on your character sheet, but you got cavalry. Healer, does that give you an ability in medicine, the skill level of medicine? No. So I am a little bit dubious about the usefulness of this sort of table, why it's there. Does Scout give any stealth? No. Do they give you any abilities like with particular weapons? For example, does the infantry have shield proficiency? No. So yeah, I wonder, this seems to be more of an afterthought, and I think it would be interesting to see these options give extra abilities as well. And the most obvious one is down below here with the support staff, cook, blacksmith, or the like. When I took this character to 3rd level and got battle master, I took the smith skills, but smith tools I should say, but you know, that was not in the game otherwise. Alright, so then the Warlock took Sage, and I just thought that perhaps they were studying, and then they found a strange book and got tempted by some devilish patron. And they can do research, which is great. Now that's very subject to the will of your DM, as you can see here where I've highlighted it. But, you know, I think it was a good fit for the Warlock, although I think it would fit a wizard better. You get that proficiencies in Arcana or History. You get no tool proficiencies. You get 2 languages. Basically, you will see later that this Warlock does not need languages, but anyway. And some basic equipment plus your 10 GP. There's also specialities, so that, you know, alchemist, astronomer. Do these have any impact on the game? No, they don't. If number 6 is a researcher, don't they all get that researcher special ability? Does alchemist give you the ability to make any of the alchemical equipment, or even give you extra equipment? No, it doesn't. I thought it would be, you know, what about the scribe? Does that let you use the tools to, like a cartographer's set or a quill and pen? No, it doesn't. Anyway, I thought as a particular flavour for this Warlock, they might have been a wizard's apprentice. Did they get any cantrips? No. Okay. So maybe they were a wizard's apprentice, they were working in the library, they discovered a book and got in touch with a Dark Lord somewhere that corrupted them, and basically they decided to sell their soul. And, you know, we don't talk about that very much in D&D in terms of the Warlock. The Warlock is a great character and has a lot of backstory and a lot of potential, and you're pretty much guaranteed that the DM's going to put your patron demon in there somewhere at higher levels, which is something which other characters can only be envious of. But there's no real mention about what happens if you break that pact, or what happens later. Anyway, we discussed all of the abilities before, just to refresh your memory, and my particular Warlock has this fiend as their patron, and, you know, it's a bit boring, but there are lots of others, and I think we should explore them in another video perhaps. Anyway, you can see that as we've got the first level character, they have certain differences and certain strengths, and in general the Warlock has already won because it outranges the Crossbow Xpert. But if the Crossbow Xpert can get into close quarters, then like if it was in a dungeon, then they could potentially go to town on the Warlock. But anyway, we've gotten up to the level 3 and the Battle Master, this is where we arrived at with the last video. And the Battle Master is a great archetype for a fighter. I really do recommend it, although there are a lot of good ones. The Pact Boon for a level 3 Warlock. It's where you get to choose between various pacts, and I chose Pact of the Tomb. I thought this sort of fit in well with this sage background, and also I'm not really sold on the chain or some of the other packs, so I thought this was the best one. It got some spells, or she got some spells. Guidance, you know, it's a bit broken, but why not take advantage of that? Thunderclap and Shocking Grasp, because they do different kinds of damage. So now one of the advantages of the Warlock is that the fighter is only doing piercing damage, even in their melee weapon as a rapier or a short sword, whereas the Warlock is now doing different kinds of damage. And so then these extra spells, though, were really just going to be Eldritch Blast, Eldritch Blast, Eldritch Blast. And I didn't think that True Strike was really worth spending the attack just to get a bonus. I thought just sort of machine gunning as much as possible with Eldritch Blast, especially from a great distance, is where our Warlock is going to win their battles. Alright, so level 3 comparison. We've got the Warlock's got armor class of 13 and hit points of 24. The Crossbow Xpert has got the armor class of 16 but still a disadvantage on stealth, but 28 hit points. So basically there's only four per in total, and you'll see that it's really gets down to there's not much difference. They have 5 skills each. The Warlock has 4 languages and no tools. The Fighter has 2 languages, a dice set, smith tools, and vehicles on land. So I think actually I would rather the extra vehicles and tools rather than the languages, especially since the Warlock doesn't need languages at later levels. And we have this Eldritch Blast with a +5 attack, doing 1d10 +3 damage and a 240 range, totally outranging everybody. And the Crossbow attack only has +7, so it's a bit better, which you would expect as a fighter, because remember their motto, fighters gotta fight. And the damage is 1d6 +3. Range is smaller, still getting a disadvantage at long range, but in terms of battlefield control, the Warlock can push, but the Crossbow Xpert can push, trip, ambush, and has 2 attacks. They also get Action Surge, which is good. The Warlock has other spells to draw upon. So 4th level is a big level. The Fighter takes Sharpshooter and basically catches up a little bit with the Warlock. So now they don't get that disadvantage on range attacks up to the maximum range. So, wow, the Warlock still outranges by twice as much, but at least the Fighter's got a bit more of a chance of catching up. They can also do a -5 penalty to their attack roll to do +10 damage. And so you can really see that the Fighter is dealing more damage and having more attacks, but the Warlock can deal longer range damage and a variety of damage. So basically that is an ongoing theme, and you'll see the Warlock gets better, much better. For the ASI, I just took +2 to Charisma for the Warlock. Now the Eldritch Blast gets +6 to hit and 1d10 +4 damage. This is at 4th level. I decided that I would give them some more equipment. The Fighter got rid of their chainmail, bought a breastplate, so that would require 400 GP. After selling the chainmail and blah blah blah, they get an AC of 16 and lost that disadvantage to stealth finally, so they can be a bit of a sniper and be well armored. They don't want to go into melee either because they're a ranged attacker, but as a fighter you're probably, and with that smaller range especially, more likely to find yourself in melee. Whereas the Warlock gets studded leather, which only costs 45 GP. So basically that just shows you that the Fighter also has to spend more money in order to improve, whereas the Warlock kind of gets it for free or gets it very cheaply. If the DM's dealing out equal money, then the Warlock has a lot more money to buy other things, and one of those things could be a horse, and they could charge around on the open field and never be caught blasting away with their improved range, and they may never lose a battle again as long as they stay on the open plain. But the Warlock's armor class is now 14. Anyway, we're going to continue this next time. That is the end of Tier 1, where we had the local heroes. We'll be moving on to Tier 2 next video. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.